Getting old. When I was in university, I wanted to make a little extra money during the summer, so I got a job working for a courier company. One day I had to deliver some luggage to a man named Mr. Yamaguchi. His apartment was on the 12th floor of a tall building. I was in a rush because I wanted to get home early that day. I took the elevator to the 12th floor and managed to deliver the luggage to Mr. Yamaguchi safely. He even gave me a big tip. As I was leaving, I happened to notice that there was a note on the door of the apartment next to Mr. Yamaguchi's. It read, "Old man with bad legs. Can't go down to throw away trash. Could someone please help me?" I hesitated for a moment. Although I wanted to go home early, my mother always taught me to help people in need. I rang the doorbell and waited. The door was immediately opened by an old man who must have been at least 80 years of age. "I saw your note," I said. "Thank you so much, young man," he replied with a smile. "Getting old is a terrible thing, especially when you're alone. Just wait a moment and I'll get it for you." He went back into his apartment and rummaged around. A few minutes later, the old man emerged and handed me a small cardboard box that was sealed with duct tape. It felt unnaturally heavy. "Yes, getting old is very hard," he continued. "Some days you feel like you would be better off dead." I didn't want to get into an awkward conversation with the old guy, so I just replied, "No problem, I'll throw this away for you." I turned to leave, but the old man followed me out to the elevator. "Thank you so much for doing this," he muttered. "Sorry to bother you. It was very nice to meet you." "Yeah, see you later," I replied as I jabbed the button for the ground floor. The doors closed and the elevator descended. The box was so heavy, I wondered what could be inside. Then I thought about the old man. Were his legs really so bad that he couldn't use the elevator? Perhaps he was just lonely and wanted somebody to talk to. Suddenly, the box was ripped out of my hands. It hit the ceiling of the elevator with a loud metallic clang. The elevator ground to a halt between the 6th and 7th floors. The box fell back down to the floor with a heavy thud. I was shocked. I didn't know what to do. I noticed a long, thin metal wire. It led out of the box and through the crack in the elevator doors. After opening the box with my penknife, I was surprised to find that all it contained was a heavy concrete block with piano wire wrapped around it. I wanted to ask the old man what was going on, so I pressed the button for the 12th floor. When the elevator stopped and the doors opened, I gasped in horror. Then I took out my cell phone and called the police immediately and waited for them to come. The old man had wrapped the other end of the piano wire around his neck. His body was lying in front of the elevator in a pool of blood. His head had rolled over and come to a rest at his apartment door. The Psychiatrist. I'm a psychiatrist by profession, and over the course of my career, I have dealt with many people who have strange and unusual problems. However, one case in particular disturbed me more than any other. There was a family of 3 who lived next door to me. They were a married couple in their 60s and they had a son who was about 30 years old. The son was what we call in Japan a hikakomori, somebody who is introverted, reclusive and isolated, someone who has withdrawn from social contact. We never saw the son. People who are hikakomori usually lock themselves away in their rooms and avoid others. I didn't hear about this condition directly from his parents. I assumed they didn't want to discuss it. In Japan, people are very concerned about appearances, and having a son who is a hikakomori is an embarrassment. As the days passed, their son went out less and less. Eventually, he never came out of the house at all. Every night from his bedroom window, the furious voice of his mother could be heard screaming and shouting at him. Whenever I met the poor woman, she smiled and said hello, but the strain was showing in her face. She became pale and haggard. It had been almost 6 years since anyone had seen the son. One day the father knocked on my door and asked me to come to his house. He knew I was a psychiatrist, and since we were neighbors, I decided to do what I could to help the family. When we got to the front door, the mother was there waiting for us. She led me upstairs to her son's room. She banged on the door with her fist and shouted, "We're coming in!" Then she burst into the room and shrieked, "Are you going to sleep forever? Get your lazy good-for-nothing butt up!" Before I knew what was happening, she grabbed a golf club and started beating the sleeping figure under the covers. For a moment I was dumbstruck as she rained down blow after blow. Then I sprang into action, grabbing the golf club and wrestling her out of the room. I hurried back inside to check on her son's injuries, but when I pulled back the bed covers, I couldn't believe my eyes. Lying beneath the sheets was a mummified corpse. I stood there in absolute astonishment, staring at the pile of bones and leathery old skin. The father approached me, hanging his head in shame. "It was my wife that I wanted you to see," he said. "This has been going on for years and I can't take it anymore."